Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about document D, and we need something to kind of prop this up a little bit so that way we can see it. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, so for document D, I'm going to say, like I've said with all our other documents, remember, your goal is you are going to be creating, or you're going to be deciding who had the better system of citizenship, right? Document D is in dog. Okay. Who had the better system of citizenship, Rome or Athens? And you need to make a choice. You can't say that, no, they were both pretty good. I don't know. You have to make a choice. And we're basing that choice on several things like, just a sec, several things like what were the advantages in Roman citizenship? What were the advantages in Athenian citizenship? What were the disadvantages? How were people treated? Who could be citizens? All that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of things that go into it. Yeah.
Is there a right answer?
Good question. Is there a right answer? No. I mean, it's your opinion, but it's going to be based, huh? I mean, it's your opinion. So again, let me finish what I was going to say. It's based on how well you use the documents to argue your point, right? Because is there a right answer between Athens and Rome? No. I mean, some people will. It depends on what you think about the topics, right? If, for example, like with this document, we'll kind of talk about that, and we can see how it will work out. So first off, document D. This first part was written by a guy named Diodorus Siculus, right? That was a person who wrote this first excerpt. Now, Diodorus wrote this somewhere between 60 and 30 BC. Now, he's talking about Themistocles. Remember, Themistocles was the leader during the Persian War. We should remember him. Was the Persian War going on during 30 to 60 BC? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No, right? Remember, the Persian War was well before that, about 230 years before that, right? So, was Siculus or Diodorus Siculus there when Themistocles was doing this stuff? Yes or no? No, he was not. So if he was not there, is this a primary or a secondary source? It's going to be a secondary source. Okay. So now, I honestly feel like this source is pretty self-explanatory, especially if you know what these two words mean. I don't think this is a really confusing excerpt, right? So if you know that obliged means that you're forced by honor to do something, you're obliged to do something. That means your honor, your moral code is saying, I need to do this. And then exile means to be forced to leave your homeland. Okay? So, and you don't need your Chromebook, so because we're on the DBQ. So, if we understand those two things, this first document is basically talking about how Athens made sure people didn't destroy their democracy. This is talking about the way that they made sure people didn't get too much power, how they made sure their democracy stayed strong. Okay? And so for Athens, the way they made sure, one of the ways they made sure their democracy stayed strong was if they felt somebody was getting too much power, if they felt somebody was a threat to their democracy, they could kick them out of the country for 10 years to take their power away, right? So that was one of the ways that Athens was like, we're going to protect our democracy. We're going to make sure that nothing happens to our democracy. And that's kind of the main idea here, right? And we already knew that Themistocles got kicked out because remember, he fought the Persians and he wound up dying in exile in Persia. We knew that already. This document here was written in 1991. Is that a secondary or primary source? Secondary, right? Obviously, if it was written in 1991, this person was not there back then. Now, in Rome, one of the ways that they protected their democracy, or one of the ways they protected their citizenship, was with something called the census. Now, we have a census in the United States as well. Every 10 years, we have a census. So we had one in 2020. We'll have one in 2030. So every 10 years, we get a count of every person who's living in the United States. The ancient Romans did that too, but they did theirs every 5 years. Now, if you are somebody who has celebrated the Christian holiday of Christmas, you are probably familiar with the Roman census. Because remember, that was a big part of that story. That's why Joseph and Mary were going to Bethlehem to be counted for the Roman census, right? So if you've heard that story before, we're a little bit familiar with the Roman census, okay? So with the Roman census, it was a little bit different than the United States census. So for us, when we do the census, basically, they ask a whole bunch of questions, but those questions are to get like demographic information about the country, right? For the Romans, with their census, not only do they count the number of people who were in the country, they use the information to organize people into groups, right? Social classes depending on your status. And one of the things that happened was you could be bumped down, right? If you didn't make enough money, if you didn't do enough things to stay in the category that you were in, you could get bumped down in the next census. And if you got bumped down, you could lose rights, you could lose privileges. There was a lot to lose. So that does not happen with our census in the United States. We don't use our census to determine what social class people are in, but that is something they did in Rome. So again, these two documents are kind of showing us ways that Rome and Athens tried to make sure people didn't get too much power within their civilization. Have a good day, everybody.